this before we prepare to combat the outbreak.
And as always, we will be reviewing the newspapers on Off the Press with our guest this Friday morning.
Thank God it's Friday and you're welcome to the breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. It's a very beautiful morning ahead and it feels really great to be back on your screen and also knowing that you are there watching. All right, good morning. Trust you had a great night rest.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Good morning. With you, the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning. Hoping that we can have very interesting conversations with Jide Johnson. But before that, let's talk about trending stories and some of the biggest conversations across the country in the last 24 hours. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, former governor of Anambra State for a while, has, of course, made headlines after he, in a budget defense, when he was speaking about the brain drain in the country, said that they need to find ways to make, doctors trained by the Nigerian government sign, that they will not leave the country for at least 9 years to practice outside Nigeria. And this has gotten a lot of people talking and, laughing, actually. I've seen a lot of people laughing at this. And his point really is that as long as the Nigerian government trade disappear, go to those countries to practice. And, this has, greatly increased in 2020, 2021. I'm not sure we've had these numbers, ever. The number of doctors that are leaving Nigeria, mostly because they are seeking, better working environment, better working experience, and better pay, which you can't blame them, for wanting to get because of, what you see here in the country and the investment in healthcare here in Nigeria. I remember that over and over we've spoken to doctors when they were on their strike, resident doctor strike, and we were complaining about some of the most basic things, and how they still receive 5,000 naira hazard allowance and some of all of that. And so you can't blame them. I have a friend who is a doctor in Saudi Arabia, and he says that they have WhatsApp group chats, in batches. So they have about 2,000 doctors in each batch, and they are all in Saudi Arabia. Batch A, batch B, batch C, and some of all of that. And every single week, every single month, there is a new set of doctors arriving in Saudi Arabia.
From Nigeria.
From Nigeria, and they eventually add them to that WhatsApp group, and it keeps growing. So it's thousands of doctors that are in that country, and then you can imagine the ones that are in the UK and the ones that are in Canada. Someone posted a picture a few weeks ago, about a few months ago, of a hospital in the UK where he went to receive treatment, and I think 5 or 6 of the nurses that were working in the hospital were all Nigerian nurses. Were Nigerians, and they all took a group picture together. It was really, really beautiful to see. But it basically, tells that there's a lot of, Nigerian healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, dentists, whoever, that are looking for, better working experience, better working environment, and better pay. And they would obviously be run, away from Nigeria. But the minister is trying to stop that. He doesn't think...
So it brings me, it worries me a lot, and it just shows that there's a disconnect with those who are calling the affairs of the nation. I mean, those who are governing the affairs of the nation and the people. There seems to be a disconnect. You are not understanding why the people are leaving. The people are leaving because the working environment is not conducive, and Nigerian doctors are underpaid. Really, there's no blabbing about that. Just go to the public domain. You see all of the figures and statistics, and then we're still talking about 5,000 naira hazard allowance in 2021. I mean, let's begin to look at the inflation rate among all the issues. It doesn't really make sense. And you want to begin to compare, the fact that some persons are receiving 5,000 naira as hazard allowance, and others are actually, another group of persons or some other group of persons are receiving 1 billion naira from maybe for allowance for reading newspaper and what have you. I doubt they even read that, because if they do, I'm sure they will understand all of this. So having to say, okay, we have to put them together, we have to stop them from moving, it doesn't even make sense. It just shows that you're not even listening to the people. Well, and it calls for a lot of concern. Let's also look at how much is being allocated to the health sector year in, year out. We have the Abuja Declaration, 15%. We have never met it. I mean, you want to begin to compare, you say Ghana, look at how much Ghana is allocating to the health sector. 2022 budget, we're looking at 4.3%. It's not even up to 7%. It's not up to 10%. and if you want to go down the line. So it just shows you we don't put our money where our heart is. You put your money where your heart is, and that's why, I mean, you can see that wherever you invest your money, just shows that that's where your heart is.
Absolutely.
But for us, we haven't been putting our money where our heart is. What do you expect?
No, I think we can put our money where our heart is. It's just not in healthcare or education. That's obviously
okay.
What it is.
Yeah, you're very
We've been putting it where it is, and you know, sometimes it is in security, sometimes it is in paying bandits, sometimes it is in you know, building, you know, white elephant projects that really don't exist. It's sometimes also in you know, school feeding program where you hear that they've spent a gazillion amount of money that you can't even see, you know, the benefits of all of that. So we've been putting our money where our mouth is. It is just not in education, neither is it in healthcare, neither is it in security. And it's really, really sad.
You know, so some people would actually argue that, you know, security seem to take, you know, a huge chunk of the allocation year in, year out, even though some persons will say, okay, there's difference between defense and, you know, security, however.
It's not improving. No, it's not working. I'm sorry.
So at the end of the day, you know, you just see an opportunity where the government should sit back and say, why do we have the doctors? Because that's how you address issues. You begin to look at what is the cost for all of this. And then because we don't see it as an importance, and then government is suggesting that we need to find a way to bounding the people from moving, you know, because, and then you begin to say the fact that it's free.
This is what the Nigerian government always does. And I mentioned this yesterday, that when you embarrass the Nigerian government, they take action. Unfortunately, they don't take action, or they don't take the right action. They haven't started to ask themselves, why are doctors leaving Nigeria? What are the things we need to do to ensure that the people that we train here in Nigeria, work here in Nigeria, are beneficial to Nigeria's, you know, space? Instead, they're looking for ways to tie you here. And it's the same thing. It's the same way they react to everything. They don't look for the root causes. They look for ways to muscle, you know, the problem and ensure that they use either the police or they use laws or they use whatever.
So everything has to be forced, because that's forced.
So they force you to stay. Some person responded and said it would be great also that we find laws, and it was responding to the minister. Find laws that make every single Nigerian politician stay here and be treated by a Nigerian doctor or in a Nigerian hospital.
Including the president.
Yes, for 9 years. The same 9 years you want them to stay. As long as you're in politics, you would be treated for 9 years in a Nigerian hospital. And that includes every single member of your family, including the president, governors, every single person. In fact, you should be treated for a lifetime in a Nigerian hospital. Those are the laws that they should be making, you know, they should be putting in place, not, you know, trying to force Nigerian doctors to say. And by the way, it's not just Nigerian doctors that are leaving. Everybody's leaving.
Of course,
everybody's leaving.
I mean, it's just a natural instinct of survival. You definitely just go for where you're being treated fairly. I mean, the working conditions are proper and every other thing. But again, my point is the Nigerian government, again, failed at solving the problem. And then you come up with some funny, you know, you want to restrict people for 9 years because you're saying that they are being treated. I mean, you know, they're being trained for free. Are you really serious? I know how it is that you want to make a point and then you begin to exaggerate. You just begin to go over. It's entirely not free. If you say you want to begin to compare how much, you know, the training is being gotten for compared to other countries. Now, the law of comparison does not even allow you to compare things that are not on like poles. So you can't begin to compare yourself with these countries because they have already made some basic things available. And so that law of comparison cannot work. It's important that you compare things in, you know, that are on the same level.
The quality of training is different also.
So I'm thinking that we can go back to the drawing board. I really don't know. It feels very frustrating. It feels tiring that we have to talk about this every other time. The opportunity that you have to solve the problem, then you blow it out of proportion. And then we're here.
Once again, the Nigerian government doesn't fix the problem. They instead muscle everyone into you know, in line. They don't in any way try to understand what the challenge is with that problem. They instead will find ways to bully you into line. And it's pretty much the same thing with every single, you know, move that they've made. These same knee-jerk reactions, these same ideas that are so archaic that you can't even imagine that this is a minister that is saying this type of things. You cannot imagine that this is a person, you know, that has been elected to represent the people that is making this type of statements. But these are the type of things that you see from the Nigerian government. They muscle you instead of actually looking for what the problem is. Same thing they're doing with the IPOB and the agitations in the Southeast. Same thing they will do to every other person who tries to agitate for a better Nigeria. And once again, it is not just doctors who are leaving. Everybody is leaving. I've never in my life seen the number of pictures of people who have left Nigeria in 2021 alone. It feels like every single day that I go on social media, there is at least 10, 12 new pictures, random faces of people saying, goodbye, Nigeria. And it has never been this bad. So it's not just doctors. It's every single, space. People are learning tech because they need to leave. People are learning public health because they need to leave. People are learning any, trade that they can because they need to leave Nigeria. IELTS, I'm sure, has made a gazillion amount of money from just Nigerians because they need to leave the country. So Chris Ngige needs to understand what exactly is going on, and you cannot force people to stay.
And the likes of Chris Ngige.
Are you going to tell the UK not to employ them?
No, anyway. I'm just saying that Chris Ngige is just one.
I'm not sure how long he practiced as a doctor before he moved into politics.
I'm disappointed, totally disappointed. Anyway. But however, we just hope and pray, as usual, for us as a country. We hope and pray that things would actually change.
Also on top trending this morning, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, of course, in a video yesterday was quoted as, advising Lagosians and people who would be accosted by men of the Nigerian police force, and was basically saying that the citizens have, or the police have no right to ask you for your phone or try to look into your phone without a warrant. And he was, advising Lagosians to ensure that they do not give their phones to policemen who, approach them without a warrant. Sounds very, very interesting. Let's get you to watch this and we'll talk about it.
The mother who spoke is gone. She said it to the people who have as negotiations after years. It was correct. It is not the duty of no policeman, and what we quoted here. No policeman can ask for your phone unless there is a warrant. Unless you are being investigated as a person. Not stopping on the turnpike and asking for what? My phone.
Sounds like a very beautiful thing to say every time. It's pretty much the same thing when they talk about roadblocks. Every new Inspector General of Police comes and says, roadblocks have been dismantled and some of all of that. They always make these statements. But I think what he's failing to do is realize that the challenge is not with, the citizens. It's not the people who willingly wake up in the morning and look for a policeman to give their phone. He should be sending this message to police officers.
So you took the words out of my mouth.
He should be sending this message to police officers, not to the people. And once again, I mentioned the video that I saw yesterday. That really, really broke my heart. Really, really broke my heart. Because this person, there's a point that I stopped watching, who was begging. That's his international passport, that's his phone. They need to let him go. He's on his way to the airport. But what did he get back? He was being slapped. That they have no right to touch anyone's phone. They have no right to arrest anyone unlawfully. They have no right to search anybody without a warrant. Not to the citizens. Nobody is looking for police officer to give his phone every morning. I didn't wake up this morning looking for a police officer to go and give my phone to.
But what you have actually mentioned is very correct. We kind of need a lot of training and retraining and training and retraining, because a lot of times I'm not sure they're aware of what the law says, what they should do or not to do. No, I'm not really sure.
You don't know the police officers now?
Yes, I'm talking about the police officers.
They are very much
I'm not sure. I doubt it, because if you understand what you ought to do, then I'm not sure you would be engaging in what you ought to do.
We've had a similar conversation before, and I said they are aware. They just have no regard for the law, no regard for the constitution, no regard for the human rights of Nigeria, the basic rights of every Nigerian. They have no regard for it. It's not like they're not aware.
So let's see how that pans out. So it's not enough to say, yes, Nigerians should know that, police officers have no right to actually search your phone and whatever until they get a court warrant. Let's also ensure that there is enforcement. People would comply. And if, a police officer is found breaking that particular law, there should be some sort of punishment. What would happen? So we're tired of hearing, oh, you need to know this and you don't need to know this and people need to do this. What happens? Because if people constantly see that at the zone where it was a war zone or trouble zone and he didn't show up, all of this, people are watching. So we need to, those who occupy, public space in office, we need to lead by example. We can't constantly, violate the Constitution. We don't obey the law, and then we expect others to happen. What happens is it constantly encourages lawlessness and impunity. There seems to be, that agreement has not been respected. Okay, so let's get back to the drawing board. Like I said earlier on, it is really tiring and very, very frustrating that we keep going in circles. We keep talking about these issues, and then you just see, what is it that we don't understand what we should do?
Once again, I think they understand well enough. It is just lack of interest. I don't think the Nigerian police force needs training and retraining like you
No,
mentioned.
maybe they have forgotten. You know that refresher comes.
No.
You know sometimes it's possible. It's possible that you forget.
I don't agree.
You need to just be reminded.
My personal opinion, I think the whole of thing that you would ever imagine, I would chip in a little. Let's give kudos to those policemen who actually try.